Hello everyone, my name is Notepad Anon and I write games for fun. This is Twitter. We should get away from this. Hi everyone, we're gonna be working on stuff today. Yeah, I don't really have any plans, really. I put it up to poll, actually. I put it up to democracy of like, okay team, what are we working on today, bromos, memos, my people who follow this channel for some unholy fucking reason, and people were wanting website design. And me working on Sword Bastards a little bit, and then I kind of realized, like, wait a moment, I've never done a kind of a wrap-up of all the games that were on the list, so may as well do some of those just to hammer them out more than anything. Readjust my life here real fast. Yeah. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to probably do a little bit of theory crafting on how we want to approach the games, which we're going to start next week, more precise. Then we're going to probably start working on the websites and more. I got a lot of the website. I got the hard part of the website done. I've been getting spammed with D&D videos and shorts since I came back to your server. Have no fear, Cool Ironside. It only gets worse from here. See, if you ever want to fix your YouTube recommendation, just watch Fallout New Vegas lore videos for 5 seconds, and you will get nothing but Fallout 4 or Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas lore videos. I don't know why. I watched one once, and that's all I get now. I watched a short because I'm like, oh, that's Moira Brown from Fallout 3. I wonder what some funny things she'll say. It took me forever to get rid of those. Yeah, they don't go away. They don't go away. And there's like part 37. I'm like, what the fuck? No, stop telling me about fucking Fallout New Vegas. I will not go down the pipeline. You cannot force me. But generally speaking, yeah, we're going to be working on a few ideas in general. Yeah, we don't need that anymore. We don't do anymore. Do we have anything else? No, we do not. Good job, team. So, if we're to be very specific about things, we technically have two major games we're going to be working on. We're going to have Sword Bastards. And we're going to have, I'm going to mispronounce it, so I'm going to put it in here. Maleficarium. There we go. Maleficarium. Ugh. Scala, Maleficarium. Yeah, Maleficarium. Maleficarium. Malefifuck. That's what it is, a Malefifuck. Yeah, Maleficarum. These are the two games that have been, primarily said like, okay, we want to do these. And I say these are the two games because we also have what I would like to refer to as SRD Nightmare Hours. The SRD Nightmare Hours is going to be kind of a special series of streams, which is just going to be me like hammering out SRDs. That's really it. Ta-da! Then you start getting videos for the Frontier, go down that rabbit hole. What you get instead are climate alarmist video. Well, yeah, it's, you watch one video and suddenly that's all you get. Hello, Ethical Explosives. We're going to be talking about Sword Bastards today. We're going to talk about going to wizard school, and we're going to talk about my perpetual sadness. We might also be working on the website a little bit. Let me pull up the website, actually, just so people can kind of get an idea of, like, what I've been doing a little bit. Oh ho ho. Let me just load up my website here real fast. This is going to be the news site, just for, don't. I'm gonna hit restore just to make sure. Yeah, this is going to be the news site. It doesn't look perfect, mind you. It's still very early. Everything here is still kind of subject to change. I should really fix the fucking Sidewinder thing. I just noticed that. But yeah, as you kind of see here, I'm gonna try to keep the same beat of the original website. That's kind of the idea. I want to keep the original thing with all the title cards and stuff because I think that looks nice. Generally speaking, I have everything set up this way. I just need to something get shoved away. Good enough get shoved around. Now I'm working. Go all the way back down. Yeah. I like card. It's a single. It's gonna look like this effectively. Again, the background's very much subject to change, but it's very it's a very clean website. That's kind of what I would like to go for, because that's what I like. Oh hey, I like with school sorts of bastards. I want to learn about cute snakies, not cringe redditors. Is this new website custom built to hide your shameful games? My brother in Christ, the very first game is Anthrodesis Dissonance. The one which I outright say, cancelled Shadow of Black Mohawk. It looks like shit. It is shit. First fucking game you see is that one. I do not hide my shame. I embrace it. So... yeah, that's kind of a thing that's going to be kind of... We might work on that later, depending on how these goes. But yeah, Sword Bastard, Skull Malefactarum, and the SRD Nightmare. Let me just readjust my mic here a little bit. Let me just do that a little bit. Yeah, I don't hide my fucking disaster. Because you don't learn by just like, oh, I wrote something bad. No one should ever see it. When are you redoing your redo of Shadowrun? Anthrodesis Dissonance could actually get a... that is good reading. I ran a website for the city of Shenandoah. But the redo of Anthrodesis Dissonance would be quite literally me going 110% to make it more Anthrodesis Dissonance. Rather than halfway Shadowrun, halfway whatever the fuck I managed to do there. Not the big Shenandoah though, the small one. Yeah, of course. But yeah, that would be my, that would be the thing with the redux of that particular one. Oh yeah, so, Sword Bastards. Sword Bastards is going to be a weird game. I'm going to tell you all that right the fuck now. You may be wondering, Notepad, what do you fucking mean that's going to be a weird game? Well, I've kind of went into Sword Bastards with one very important thing. I want to get experimental. Now, experimental has quite a few connotations with things. The big thing, I'm waiting for my phone to go off, by the way. One of the big things that what I want to do with Sword Bastards is, because the basic idea is not complicated. Because if we're to really break down what Sword Bastards is going to be, it is going to be a bunch of it's pretty much yeah, I would guess you would call it Renaissance. Is that how you would like? I don't really know if you would call it Renaissance, but like kind of like Renaissance crime simulator. Effectively, for lack of a better word, blades in the dark, without blades in the dark. I like the idea of blades. I love the idea of being kind of more crime game, and you can be genuine assholes in that game, and it's about building up a criminal enterprise. The problem is with Blades in the Dark is that the system is Blades in the Dark, and I hate the system. Well, not really hate. It's more just aggressive apathy. So kind of just doing my own thing with it to make it Renaissance crime simulator, because I can do that, and I think that's kind of a weird idea. Uh, Blades in the dark, but not gay. Nice. I have a few ideas. Like, I already kind of, I've been debating on the setting for a little bit. Kind of the idea with the setting is either I can go down, it's kind of the, do I want low fantasy versus kind of like more high fantasy? Like, and I mean this in a way of, do I want it when you, do I want it to be like, yeah, you're gonna kick down a wizard shop's fucking, wizard's door and force him to pay protection money so you don't blow up his fucking potion shop, or yeah, or just pure mudcore. Both of them kind of have their own appeals. Going more of the high fantasy route would allow me to do a lot more stupid shit. Let's just call it a spade. Stupid shit. But that may not be appropriate. Low fantasy was what I was kind of leaning toward. Not necessarily mudcore, or a little bit above mudcore. More along the line. I wouldn't say like low, like deadly low, historically accurate TM. No, little bit fantastical, like just a kind of more emulating the first Thief, if that makes sense. The first Thief, rather than, I should say, the first half of the first Thief, rather than, like strictly like, here's fucking elves and shit. It's like, no, here's the problem, you are here. Go write it with coal and make it fatal. No. But yeah, I think going for kind of a lower fan, like, that was kind of the thing that I was having with the setting. I'm still kind of mulling it over in my head, how I want to do things. But the big thing about this, the core thing with this game, very much is going to be kind of the idea of these very deadly street fights. You're rolling up on, it's like your crew is rolling up on something, and if you get into a fight with another person, someone's going down. Like, if a sword is drawn, if a knife is drawn, someone's not going to have a good time. Someone's getting shanked. Like, someone is getting shanked, someone is going down, someone is not having a good time. Thief 3 should have been more modern, not less. Well, Thief 3 also has the disastrous quality of having to be made for console. So, there was a lot of things. Thief 3 was a flawed product from day one, kind of thing. Oof, right there. That's kind of the issue with Thief 3. And then there's Thief 4. Everyone remember Thief 4? Glorious Thief 4. The best game. But there wasn't a Thief 4. There was Ironside. You can't escape it. That's something we all have to live with. Aren't they planning on remaking Thief? Like remaking it? I thought they were talking about that. But there was modded Skyrim. Every game is modded Skyrim. It's like 5e. Skyrim does every game. Now, the idea of these really deadly street fights is this is where the core of the game is. Like right here. If we're being frank with him. Tiefer. Numerous French say Tiefer. Yeah, bloody Taffa. Now, the idea of Sword Bastards really is breaking down to the idea of street fights. These fights, these very deadly exchanges of blows, you kind of, if you get into a fight with somebody, swords are drawn, you hit them, there's a good chance they're not getting back up. And I want to do this, and we're going to play with this game, because remember, we're making this experimental. Experimental things are fun, because it forces you to think outside the box a little bit more than you normally would. And thinking outside the box is fun. I think it is fun. At least that's what I like to tell myself. I like to tell myself that it's fun. As I, sit awake at, 5 a.m. wondering what the fuck I'm doing. That's fun, right, guys? That's really entertaining. But what I was thinking about doing is, and I was trying to do some research on this, by the way. I was thinking about using cards. Now, there is kind of this funny thing where it's like, oh, cards. Like, what games use playing cards? And I asked this, and there really wasn't a lot of games. Like, if we use like TTRPGs that use cards. Okay, well, we'll use cards. Tabletop bellhop. What do we? Savage Worlds. The Quiet Year. Malufox. Murderous Ghosts. Unbound. Like Aces and Eights. Like a lot of these games, the only one that like really like uses playing cards for everything is Dust Devils, really. A lot of them don't really do that. And it's like, okay, like Castle Falkstein kind of got mentioned a lot. Let's see. It's let's just do some research, I guess. Fuck off. If we're just looking at like Castle Falkstein is like one of the very few that like show up. Like, yeah, Castle Falkstein, like that's really it. Because I can tell you this, Savage Worlds does not use playing cards. That's not the main resolution mechanic. A lot of them, like, you know, a lot of them don't really use cards in that way. It's like a main mechanic. Like, oh, Warhammer 3. Warhammer Roleplay 3rd Edition. That's correct. I seem to remember numerous French people. Yeah, it's like Everway. Like Everway was one that kind of kept getting mentioned, but like the weird thing with Everway is that it doesn't use playing cards. It uses its own special cards. Vision cards. Guide to the Fortune deck. Source cards. Questy cards. Probably one of the ones that kind of got mentioned the most was actually Tokyo Nova, which Tokyo Nova is very good, and I quite enjoy Tokyo Nova. But it's like, is this really all we have to work with here? Like, is it Castle Falkstein and Tokyo Nova? Like, is these like the two things that we have to kind of like vibe with? And like a vast majority of these games, like I've never heard of half of these games, so it's like, oh Jesus. And then you get things like The Quiet Year. The Quiet Year is not a tabletop role-playing game. Guys, I hate to break it to you. It's not really a tabletop role-playing game in the traditional sense, because it's a world-building game. Calling it a TTRPG is kind of awkward. I usually don't call these games strictly in that idea. It's part role-playing game, part cartographic poetry. What? Yeah, so like Westerns. In a Wicked Age that uses. This is incorrect, by the way. This doesn't use it. It uses its own dice system. Hillfolk, I know for a fact, doesn't play. Yeah. Oh goodness. Quiet Year is a group storytelling game that you narrate based on random events in cardful. It is fun. Well, yeah. Here's the thing. I'm not saying Quiet Year is bad. I'm saying Quiet Year isn't really a TRPG. It's like, yeah, that's not really that way. Like, that's not. You can be a fun thing on the table, and I still won't call you a tabletop roleplay game. The King is Dead. Let's. Playbook. Oh. Well, we already played The King. We already saw the King is Dead. Love and Barbed Wire. I wonder what this game's about. Oh, jeez. Five Faces of the War. No, it's a storytelling game. Okay, do we have, like, anything to... Parslings is not a card game. Fun fact, this is Smunchy. I don't like Smunchy very much. I think he's a jackass. But Smunchy isn't... Smunchy is no longer in tabletop role-playing games now. Why he's not? Because he doesn't want to compete. That's literally what he... This is just something that he said. You can't even find, like, parslings or anything on there. Yeah, you get this. This is... like... I don't like Smunchy. He says stupid shit on the internet sometimes, and it annoys me. But, like, Parslings uses its own deck of cards. The hell is Smunchy? He's in Blue Server a lot. Smunchy was one of the guys who said that tabletop role-playing games... he was one of the ones that he was like, oh, tabletop role-playing games are going to see a huge amount of money because of all the video games guys coming in. It wasn't necessarily the idea of like, oh, it's about competition. No, it's like, why do I bother putting money into advertising anymore? And why should I care anymore? I shouldn't, like, I should never think about competing in the market kind of thing. He gave up. It was like the sword guy, the one we went over, the guy who rewrote Lasers and Feelings with a different name. That guy. It was like him. He's just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm like, oh. Cool. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one down, and another one down, and another one bites the dust. Heh heh. Yeah, so I'm like... There really isn't... Yeah, Unbound is one, like, Rules Light. Rowan, Rook, and Deckard. Hey, Rowan, Rook, and Deckard, how are you? We saw you not too long ago. You're the guys who made the Die RP. The Die. Hey, look, everyone, it's C22! He's also in the Blue server. I'm convinced Sword Guy was just sad posting as a form of marketing. Well, yeah, no shit he was sad posting as a form of marketing, but he was right, and that was the thing. Like, he was correct. One deck of 22 cards, book the various items, different groups of cards. Yeah, this is like a... Yeah, this is like a weird card, like a weird... I looked a little bit into this. Because the entire idea of C22 is like your... like, building up your cards. Yeah, suit modifier. Because the entire idea is that you are actually like building up a card deck effectively. So it's like actual card-based TTRPGs are fairly rare. So I've been thinking of like where do I find these? Like, what can I even, like, base it off of? Because a lot of these are, like, Tokyo Nova and all that. Because, like, let's see. Because, like, the idea behind Tokyo Nova is that everything has a cost, for example. So you might say, oh, you need 5 of diamond. You know, you need 5 up with diamonds. You need 5 up or something. And you can only use diamonds for it. So I look at my hand, I'm like, okay, I only have 3 of diamonds, I'm going to fail the check. However, if you say have that particular one with diamonds and spades, for example, hey, I've got a 5 of spades, I've completed the goal. That's kind of how that works. Like, like what other like card game RPGs would there be? Because here's the weird thing, like this is the thing that I find kind of odd, because like if you were to if you Google like card-based roguelike RPG, like let's just do like, if you ever want to find a fuck ton of card-based roguelikes, roguelike deck building games, these things are fucking everywhere. You want to find a card-based roguelike game with cards, this shit's everywhere. You can find anything you want with it. It's going to be there. Roguelike deck builders. Print fucking money. And it's like, oh, well, there's not that many. There are more of these. These are not... This is nowhere of the sheer number of them actually out there. So it's like... Yeah, so it's like there are a lot of like story games. I made a card-based game. It has 50 downloads now. That's good ethical. Story game. Slade Spire, his consequences have been a disaster for the vermin. So yeah, there's a lot of those card-based rogue games, and it's like I understand because you can make anything you want. Like it's very easy to make those games roughly. Like that's why I was like thinking like, okay, maybe we use cards, maybe not. But I'm right now there. Like I'm not saying Slade Spire is bad. I'm saying that everyone tries to emulate it. But generally speaking, like experimentality wise, I was thinking either cards. We use fate dice somehow. I don't really know. I'm very much open for opinions, really. If you ever have if you have ideas or something that you would be like, I've never seen this done before, now's the time to tell me, because like cards wise, just because I don't see that many of them, and I'm thinking like, okay, because my initial idea with it is when you get into a fight, trap idle game, not like that mechanics wise, Ironside, mechanics wise. Now my initial idea for cards was you're gonna draw a hand of 5. I was probably going to do like just the numbered cards, no face cards or anything. Just numbers and jokers. Where it's like, okay, and it's either going to go, you have to select like right, left, right, left, or center thing. Where do you want to go? Where are you hitting? I'm sorry, Notepad, but there are no new mechanics. At least mechanics you haven't seen that often before. I would want to experiment. I like experimentation. I like seeing what I can do with something I've never seen before. Unless you get really esoteric and start trying to invent something new. I really don't know how I would do that though. But yeah, kind of the core made D6 come out with a single fate. Dice a blank is nothing minus a complication plus a bonus. Maybe something like that. Because like the idea behind the cards was pretty much every single fight you could say that you get into is effectively a kind of a 3-lane situation. So let's say, for example, I roll. I get my cards out. I dole myself out 5, for example. And any numbered card, that's just a raw value. If you have kings or jacks or whatever, if I even decide to put the face cards in, that's going to be augmenting. And I have to make a decision. We're both playing cards back and forth with one another. So I'm saying, okay, right, I'm going to put one card on my right, he places a card. I'm going to put one card on my left, he kind of places it, place a card in my middle, and then I start kind of placing everything else. So, and we flip over, and if you have more, your value of your red is higher than his black, you're going to hit him. If your red is higher than his black, you're going to hit him. If it's matched, you parry one another. Bang, 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 and somebody is going to pull away, probably not doing too hot. The idea would be mostly about manipulating either A, your hand. That would be a big thing there, is manipulating your hand. Or manipulating the value of the cards in your play area. That would be the other kind of big. Or, being like, hey, in these 3 lanes, for example, if you have one which is like, okay, you put it over and you have an ace, that's immediately going to go first. You immediately are going to strike first with that. And if he's able to block it, he's able to block it. But that might, hey, if you kill someone, what did I miss? Nothing. I've been debating mechanics. Been debating mechanics and ideas with things. Currently, this is all of the notes with Sword Bastards. I want to experiment a bit with this game because it's not a complicated game. I could just say this is a D6 dice pool, and I do just add a single fate die to thing where things kind of go extreme, or maybe you can manipulate things with the fate die. It's like, maybe I can do that, and that's pretty reliable, but it's like, maybe is there something more I can like push the envelope a little bit? Something I can see or do, make something I haven't seen before. And I've been thinking more about kinetic games, if that makes sense. Things where you're actually like touchy-feely with things. And I do think that has its own value. Even down to things like, if we want to do that, even if we, take a number of dice pool this, and then it's like, okay, let's, like, you got to now distribute these dice in various locations. I'm like, okay, where am I putting my dice? How am I planning on doing that? That could be interesting as well, but that's why I'm thinking, like, with cards might be a little bit easier for that front, because, hey, you can actually hide that information a lot better. All you know is that he's placing he's placing cards on his right. So if he's placing cards on his right, okay, is he like going for a big hit? Does he plan on bashing my skull in right away? Is he kind of trying to play a game with me a little bit? Before it's like, okay, haha, look at me, I've did a massive hit on your left or something. And we can also tie it into things like weapons and such. That could be its own interesting thing there. That's why I've been like, okay, maybe that's it. Fate die would just be, how do you use just fate die for things? Because ever since I went over Tears of the Machine SC, I've been a little bit more curious about like fate games. And the vast majority of them just use fucking fate dice. That's all they fucking use. They use nothing else except fate dice. And they're all fate games, like Fate Core. Nobody uses fate dice for anything other than Fate Core games. That's like, big help, team. You'd think that. Well, the thing is, you would really think that people with, Evil Hat especially would be like, you can do. What do you imagine a session of Sword Bastards? What do you imagine basic structure of player actions looking like? The best thing that I can think about it. The best way I can think about what Sword Bastards is going to look like. It's like, hey, opening session, you're kind of, you're managing what you have so far. Like, okay, we're running a protection racket here, we're doing this, we're kind of controlling how the city looks. Controlling how the city functions, how the city looks a little bit, and usually a disaster will pop up, an issue will pop up. A thing will crop up, and then you kind of have to start dealing with it. Or you can be a little bit more proactive. Hey, we want to expand our territory. How are we going to do that? We want to fuck with this gang a little bit. Cool. Hey, we want to open up some new avenues of money. What are we going to do? We're going to do this. Ironically, if you have ever played Rogue Trader, Rogue Trader has a thing called profit factor. As a Rogue Trader, you are so hideously wealthy, nothing really matters to you. But what you need to do is build your profit factor. Just by virtue of increasing the wealth that you possess, you want to do something. Everything you do in Rogue Trader is built around building that profit factor. You go to a planet, You're going there to establish a colony to build up your profit factor. You have 300 years worth of vintage wine. That is not nearly enough. We need to go to a planet and get the most exclusive vintage wine to increase our profit factor. It's things like that. Like, everything feeds into increasing the amount of money you have, the amount of profit you have, the amount of stuff you have. And I think that's what this game would be looking like a lot. It's you on the ground, you as the actual player characters are, and it's just a bunch of jackasses. You are a gang of people. Fuck with people. You have underlings. They're going to help you out, maybe. They might not help you out. Everyone's kind of, you're dealing with money everywhere. You're trying to take control of this city while fighting these other gangs, the City Watch, and things like that. Bastard bonds. Bastard bonds, I know how to do it. That's the beautiful thing, Sterner. I know how to do it. I've known how to do it. I've always debated on it. It's usually like the actual bit, like moment to moment with bastard bonds would be the hard part, because it's a very, I wouldn't say set story, but like I would need to like, how do I balance things out to make it as smooth as possible? And like you kind of pointed out, there's like keeping track of all your followers would be a pain. That wouldn't be a pain as much, because you would just have, to me anyway, you would just have a home base system, and it would just be a separate sheet or a separate thing being like, this is home base. These are all the people in your home base. This is what you can do. This is what you can't do, blah, 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 blah. By virtue of having all of these people here, you are able to do this. By virtue of having these people here, you kind of thing. There's a pole dancing anime. I know there's the pole dancing anime. I do know that it does exist. We could go diceless, everybody. Who's ready for more diceless role playing? Dun 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 dun. See, the thing is, using with the Bastard Bonds RPG, the actual moment to moment wouldn't be difficult. The hardest part with the Bastard Bonds RPG is twofold. Is one, the leveling up system. That will be so fucking convoluted, because that 3x3 fucking grid. It is a genius piece of design, that 3x3 grid, but Jesus fucking Christ, is it? Like, putting that on the table would be super frustrating. It's the other thing would be the cycle of how turns work. I actually did it once, of how the cycle of turns, you know, constantly kind of pushing your luck a little bit for the fumble. I did it once before, but it was a very structured game. Having the various chances, like, you fool, remember how the last diceless game went? That was... What was the last diceless game? Sidewinder? Yeah, it was Sidewinder. Sidewinder went pretty well. I like Sidewinder. I'm making a PDF of it. Let's see, there's Fate. There was... Oh, what other ones were there? I'm trying to think of all the diceless RPGs I've met. We made... Oh, Dungeon Tactics. Dungeon Tactics was pretty old at this point. Let's see, there is, top of my head, Sidewinder, Dungeon Tactics, Fate Lonely Dance, technically Flesh Mech Annihilator, even though that's Dungeon Tactics. Think of anything else. Yeah, those are the only four. One day I will be able to, one day I'll make the to Striker Z. Not today though. Oh god. Not today, Satan. Let's think. Well, we can't really. Well, we're debating on this one a little bit. We can move over to Scala Maleficarium. Scala Maleficarium, I'm going to be a little bit less experimental with because we already have a very odd. One of the core things about this is that this game is going to be very simple conceptually. And what do I mean by that? What's the what's that ominous tone, Notepad? Like, what do you mean by that? Like, one of the big things is like the actual actions, the actual actions you're going to be doing. I want to keep very easy, very simple to understand, very kind of conceptually simple. Because at the end of the day, all Scala Maleficarium is going to be is Harry Potter, but it makes sense. It's like, oh, why does Hogwarts exist? Well, Scala Maleficarum. Sounds like the name of a lesbian-focused Harry Potter AU. Welcome. I was trying to think of, like, I literally, when I was coming up with the names and stuff, Scala Maleficarum was Wizard School Simulator for a while. It was literally just called Wizard School Sim. That's all it was. I'm like, I feel like I need to make this at least a little bit more, fancy. Because that seems kind of odd. Why not Scolamans? Why not Scolamans? The problem with Scolamans is that I immediately am thinking of World of Warcraft. Yeah, just I immediately, when I'm like, Scolamans popped up, I'm like, absolutely not. I don't want to go back. I'm not going back. I'm not. You cannot force me. Wow, yeah. It's like, that was like the immediate thing that came to my mind. It was like, yep, Scolamans. I was curious. Ethical Link, the if Hogwarts were an inner city school. You joke, but yeah, this was kind of one of the ideas. Was like, yeah, you're going to, like, not the nice school. You're going to, like, one of the mid-range schools of wizardry bullshit. And it's like, oh, it's like, it's more, the idea behind this game was more about the academic problems that you go through. No mage left behind. Because, again, that's why I say it's, like, very simple conceptually. It's just, like, what I want to do is, like, balance, like, the school, it's kind of like school life advancement. It's kind of section off, like, hey, you get a certain amount of time, and this is actually how you're going to, quote, level up. You don't level up by virtue of, getting 150 XP points or whatever. You get, you level up. Not that. You level up by virtue of going up a year. It's like a very long campaign is going to be a while. And you don't, so it's kind of like, hey, if you, like, really focus on, like, your physical education classes, you're going to get enough points or whatever, get enough things to level you up in a very particular skill or ability or something like that. Where your level, your full, character level is more like a cap out from what you can do, but you won't be able to hit, maximum everything. It's like, yeah, you do need to actually learn how to do math shit. Like, if you want to focus on that, you totally fucking can. If you want to focus on potions or whatever, you gotta focus on potion class, and that's gonna be the thing. It's kind of, again, sectioning off that day a little, or that time in between wizard adventures. Kind of like, yeah, we have wizard bullshit going on, and because it's wizard bullshit going on in addition to everything else, it's kind of like, okay, easy enough to understand. Like, the issue that I was always having, this is the issue I always have with anything, anytime anyone proposes a fucking Harry Potter RPG, is obviously the fucking magic, which is going to be a little bit important. You know, just a little important to the fucking high drama and action or more toned down school life. The best way to think about it is, I want more like you're dealing with kind of you're dealing with kind of more school stuff where there is drama and there is action, but it's a little bit more like you will have time, which is just go to class, and you had to complete a big assignment for potions. I'm gonna keep using potions because that's one that's immediately in my mind. Is you have to complete a task with that, and that's like the session is you got to complete the fucking potions class, assignment. If you succeed, cool, you get a bonus. If you fail, well, hopefully you're like that F, like kind of thing. Where it's a little bit more of you want to advance in those first few years, things aren't really going on. The storyline, this is the big thing, the story is not necessarily what's occurring right this second. It's kind of the more grandiose thing going on. It's like, hey, it's more, the best way to kind of put in, kind of contextualize it, this is not about the story of the boy who lived. This is the story about you trying to deal with the fact that you have an asshole who constantly, torments you, and it's like, how do we deal with the bullies in school? How it is. My wizard's name is Brad Tyson. He plays offensive tackle on his Quidditch team. Yeah, people are snorting golden apples behind the broomstick storage. Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like you start in school, and it's like, where does your kind of like team go? And I would probably make it even as like simple in the idea of like, hey, yeah, no, you've kind of met each other through like a club of some sort. Yeah, you guys are on the Quidditch team, or you're on like the budget Quidditch team, which, by the way, if you've never seen real life Quidditch, Google it right the fuck now. It's amazing. It's like, you guys are on the Quidditch team. That's your guys' thing. Or hey, you guys are immediately tagged as the not the muggles kind of thing. And like, yeah, that's your fucking problem. Oh, they renamed it? Lame. I'm talking about the plight of inner city schools into wizard shit. And it's like, that's why I was thinking about doing, like, you aren't a prestigious academy. You're like the state-funded wizard school kind of thing. It's like, hey, you're not high up there. It's like, yeah, you're not as bad as some alternatives, but you're not doing great. Like, and it is like too many fucking wizards here. Like, one of the big things in like setting wise I was actually thinking about more than anything is like wizards are the wizard, like, oh, why haven't the wizards just conquered everything? They did. They did conquer everything. They're fucking everywhere. The problem is that wizards, nobody likes wizards. And every time they try to do something like a big power play or something, they get shot. And they have consistently throughout history joined the wrong side. And it's like, hey, what team are you on? Ah, don't worry. I have my good friend Himmler working on things. Don't worry. Nothing could go wrong here. Like, you play one of those American wizard schools with segregation. Not even like as like extreme as that or something, but more along the lines of like, yeah, you are dealing with shit kind of like in a... It's the Breakfast Club, except, it's the Breakfast Club, except all of you are just wizards. That's what I've got to go for this game, in all honesty. Probably I'll start you like... Wizard always team up with the losing side, hoping the route Root for the little guy to not get it turns out Gank the Mage is legitimate. Yeah, it's like that's been like the consistent factor in history. With one of the other bits being like none of the like fantastic races like wizards. Man, what are the house elves doing? Yeah, we fucking remember what you did to the house elves, you psychopaths. It's like, oh, hello there, fellow elf. Hello there, fellow elf. How do you do? Being less like, I remember the time when your ancestors killed my village. I will kill you and your family. I'm like, oh no. Yeah, it is also kind of like one of those funny things where it's just like Havada Kedavra, except have no fear. That really, like, magic doesn't really do much when a pitchfork is going through your chest. It's like, okay, I feel a little bit like justified. That's like the big thing with how magic is. Like, originally I was debating on using my, this is going to sound very autistic. I was debating on using my, my beat system for it, which the idea is you only have certain number of words to actually say what you want to do, and you have to be very specific. But as you grow up, as you get better at magic, you can start cutting words out. So at beginning, if you want to open a door, you say, I want to open the door. You have to say that entire phrase, and you may not be good enough to do it. It's fuck up. But if you say, very old, be like, open door. You just swing it around and the fucking door opens. It's shit like that. The problem with that was that would be nightmarish. Because you want to know how magic works in Harry... Yeah, you want to know how fucking magic works in Harry Potter? I'm going to give you a secret. Shit doesn't. Shit just doesn't work. Everything just happens. It's like a vast majority of the magic that you actually... Yeah, the magic does whatever J.K. Rowling or fanfiction writer wants it to. Because it's like, oh, what do you... It's... Yeah, because you can't Avada Kedavra of the school without being Avada Kedavra yourself. Yeah, it's like one of the issues with like Harry Potter magic is that things occur and it's like there's no system to it. There's no like A to B to C with anything of how it works. Hey, I'm dead inside. Welcome aboard. Welcome to the rest of us. You get used to it. So it's like, it's bad. We're like, oh, the unforgivable curses. It's like, if you learn what Avada Kedavra fucking does, if you just say it, it's over. What are we doing now? Magic? Yeah, magic? This is the Wizard School Simulator. Though slowly and steadily, I'm gonna put this down. Inner City Wizard School. Literally, there we go. It's Inner City Wizard School now. Good job, team. You've you've officially completely butchered the original concept. Mage Howard Edition. Yeah, no, Scala Maleficarium. This was Balenciaga for those who don't know. But like what I was thinking, like mechanically speaking, was actually pretty simple. Like, it's just gonna be like a D6 or a D10 thing, and you know what? Boom, boom, boom. You know what we can do? We can be a little bit more experimental, because that's what we do here. That's what we can do. Very smart, very smart. Let me actually fucking... You unironic Vancian magic. Yeah, unironic Vancian magic could be fun. I would need to rewrite Vancian magic to be how I would want to do Vancian. Especially if I use literally how Vance does it. What's your opinion on Vancian? I would say there are two varieties. Here's the thing. There are two varieties of Vancian magic. Fast. I say there's two varieties. Now, there is the... If I can fucking see, it's also pitch black in my room because I didn't turn my light on. The two Vances are pretty simple. It's, you have Deprivation and you have Ammunition Vancian. Ammunition Vancian is what we would kind of consider like the modern modern way of doing things. It's you have 5 third-level spells. You can cast any third-level spell whenever you want, up to 3 times. If you want to do, if you've got, I can't think of a third-level spell, Fireball, for example. You can cast Fireball 3 times. Or you can cast Fireball twice and cast another spell at 3rd level. That's kind of the idea. You want to power up a lower level spell up to 3rd level? You can. Ammunition. That's really all it is. Deprivation is a little bit different. Deprivation is you've prepared 2 Fireballs and a Jackson's Schlong of Fucking or whatever. You can use 2 Fireballs and the Jackson Schlong of fucking or whatever. You can use either of those 2. You can use those up to your amount. This is deprivation. You are now, when you use that Fireball, you only have 1 Fireball left. You use Jackson's Schlong of Fucking, you've used Jackson's Schlong of Fucking. Deprivation worked, like the old school Vancian magic worked really well for old D&D. And I say old D&D, not OSR, there's a very different kind of way of approaching that. It's the old way of doing things was you go into a dungeon and there really wasn't resting as often. Resting was you gotta post guards, you gotta do this. It was a very much a different way of looking at things. And there was a lot more about tracking, a lot more about, keeping notes on things. It was a different game. It was a different world. And then Vancian magic makes a lot of sense, where you don't want a wizard casting Fireball every single time he wants to do anything. That's ridiculous. The second a wizard gets a spell, it's immediately broken. What happens now is, hey, he has to now time what his spells are. Do I want to use my spell now? Do I want to improve my spell? Which was one of the major advantages of fighters and thieves and things like that was, hey, this wizard can use Fireball once. And since he can use that Fireball once, we now have to think about this a little bit deeper. We have to worry about things. We're approaching things from a different angle. It's the newer way of doing things. I will say this, the newer way of doing things is the right way with the games they want to play. There's my distinctive note though is, why do you keep with Vancian magic at this point? There really isn't the reason to keep it the way that it is, outside of sacred cows we cannot kill. Sacred cows we cannot kill are things like Vancian magic. We can't get rid of it, and nor will we ever to, because the millisecond you try to get rid of it, like what they did previously, people are going to get pissed. People are going to be like, fuck off. Fuck it. A bitch and a moan and this. The reason we have even how the modern D&D system works is because people wanted higher tier adventures. They wanted to be heroes. They didn't want to be fodder building up to there. They wanted to be pretty heroic on the onset. And I would say the scaling of old D&D versus the scaling of new D&D, the new version, kind of like the new school way of looking at things, is a lot slower progression and a lot more consistent. Old school was a lot lower, but a lot more spiking, if that makes sense. If you manage to get to level 6 in D&D, you were in the old school D&D, you popped off. You now had the gear. You now knew what you were doing. You now had a fucking venerable force of dudes at your back. You weren't really, you were pretty good and you knew what you were doing. Level 6 now is when a campaign ends, because you've hit kind of we've hit the natural end point of a storyline. It's But that's a very long and convoluted discussion. Which if you ever want to know why we don't have Vancy and Magic the way if you ever want to know why Vancy and Magic sucks, it's because it's built for a different kind of game. Different kind of game people don't play anymore. But yeah, let's see. I mean, with Magic, I was either going with the idea of I was either going to go word based a la Ars Magica, where like leveling up a certain school of thought, for example, is giving you more words to fuck around with. If you go down the elemental route very hard, if you want to learn all about the elements and things, you're going to be able to say fire, fire blast, fire, air blast, earth blast, this blast, this blast. However, if you say if you just have fire, but you're like fire blast, fire trail, fire, fire heart, more, fire this, fire that. It's kind of the idea of, do you how many words and things do you want to kind of mix together, and how can you string them together? That was going to be probably the way I approach leveling up. Like the Magic, more than anything, is being able to string multiple words together more consistently. That was one way. The other way is pretty much just come up with your own up to a certain amount, literally using something like MP. The MP method is would be a little bit different, but it would be like you only have a certain amount of actual magic points to use to create something. You can draw that much power out you'll cast a spell. So it's like, yeah, you can make any spell you want, any ability you want, anything. Yeah, Ars Magica was going to get stolen from. Have no fear. But like one of the ideas with the MP method was you're getting it back consistently, but it's like you can't really do things too big because you just don't have the requisite amount there. You don't really know what you're doing, so it's a lot more about refining something down to a more like easy way to do things. Because think about it like this: if it's like, I want to cast Fireball, cool, that's going to cost you 25 magic, and you look at it and be like, I have 5. Like, you aren't casting Fireball. So it's like, oh, okay, so I'm not going to be casting Fireball anytime soon. But, next year, you go to fucking Fireball class for a time, you do all this. Suddenly, the cost of fire, like a little fire thing in your hand, is now 2 instead of 3. It's pretty much you're lowering the cost to do things to make sure, like, by your 3rd year, you focused exclusively on fireballs. You can now use a fireball better than, some older students, because that's the one thing you focused on. Little bit more, but it's like, hey, you guys are on the Quidditch team. You guys are friends by virtue of being on the Quidditch team. Or, I'll probably gonna have to make my own sport or something and be like, here's legally distinct Quidditch. We'll call it fucking, I don't know, Manicore or something. Wizard Glowies give out scrolls of Avada Kedavra to press students. Like, that's going to be like its entire different thing. It's like, yeah, we have like the Wizard Glowies in school. We don't know who they are. It could be any one of our teachers are just the Wizard Glowies. Based on rugby, so something based on football, maybe. It could be something like football. It could be, I could just come up with something completely randomized, being like, yeah, welcome to, let's play some Manicore. What's Manicore about? I'm going to hit you. We're going to run into each other at high speeds and see who lives. Like, because like, what do you think, like, what would it be like? Quidditch is like the ultimate wizard sport. WBA, Wizard Ball Association. Ultimate Wizard Ball simulation. That's kind of this one's a little bit farther out, so I'm not really as concerned with it. But the basketball, but the ball is alive and feels pain. Basketball, but it's just Dobby. Dobby has been given Balenciaga. Dobby's free. Man, why don't anybody? Why don't people like? Why don't people like wizards? Basketball died in the glue traffic. Yeah, this is the kind of the cursed shit that we work. This is the cursed reality that we live in. But yeah, no, that would be the idea there. Like mostly, I was thinking like again maybe if we want to kind of keep an idea that worked pretty well that I actually quite liked, is we can probably, I'd say a D6 system, like a D6 system plus the fate die. You kind of the fate die kind of like we'll do. This works pretty well, honestly. It's like, yeah, hey, you're gonna be rolling like 2 3d6 to begin with, but that fate die is gonna give you something if you roll well, if you roll poorly. And that could be kind of neat, you know, kind of a fun way of implementing the fate system, you know, fate die into things. I'm down with that. I think that works pretty well. I think this one's going to be a lot. It's shape-shifting metal from Sword in the Stone. Yeah, we could, again, like, there's a couple ideas out there being like, what would be like a physical sport for like wizards? And it would just be like, what I would have to do is like, here's a small example of like places that you've met one another. Like, you've got like the actual like squad, your team or whatever, your people that you are kind of like associated with is like, you are the Breakfast Club. You met like first day of school, you all get, you know, like, first day of wizard school, y'all got, you know, you're all just seated together. That's kind of it. Congratulations, you've been seated in the same area. You've been seated in the same area. One of you has the protagonist. One of you has the protagonist desk. In the anime, you know, the bottom, you know, the back right hand corner desk. That's just one of what one of you have. It's or it's like, hey, like, yeah, like, you all got potential polymorphing the principal into a pineapple. Whoopsie doopsie. It's like, yeah, hey, you guys are all part of the same house. Cool. You're all part of the same kind of like arbitrary group that they assign students in. Like, cool. We're team 4 of, you know, the Manicores or whatever, and it's like, well, I guess we're friends now, and being like, yep, I guess we're friends. It's kind of like, how do you meet your first friend in like elementary school? It's like, you just sat next to them, or you were at the playground, and it was like, oh, you like this thing? I like your shirt. Your shirt's pretty cool too. And like, we're best friends now. We're inseparable. That would be kind of the idea. Is like, you guys are in a situation. You're all together, now you have to kind of deal with this. Like, yeah, you are friends. You just bunk together. You're in the 4-man bunk and you all kind of live together. You're room 14. You're on the Quidditch team. You guys got dinged for, you know, you've all been put in detention for polymorphing the principal into a pineapple. Things like that. I would say the basic concept of Schola Maleficarium is not difficult. That's the thing. The basic idea of what do we need to do to complete a task? Hey, make a 2d6, you know, make a 2d6 plus whatever that fate, you know, plus the fate die. I'm going to actually have to buy a fate die or buy something, or like make my own fate die with one of my dice. I could probably do that. And like, oh, roll. Hey, I got a plus. I got a 9 and a plus. How do we do? Like, oh, you did pretty well. You know, you succeeded. Cool. We succeeded. I got a bonus. You know, I've got a benefit. Good happen. That's not complicated. Everything else around that idea is where things get complicated. Especially the magic. The magic is going to be the thing that is going to tie this fucking thing together. It needs to be perfect. And do I feel confident in making it perfect? Not really, but that's one of the reasons I wanted to undertake this. It is really fucking hot in my room. It rained earlier, so it's just humid in my room now. Ew, ow. Everything is in pain. Everything is pain. But, yeah, I think we're doing pretty. I think this one's working pretty all right. I'm feeling confident. And I'm pretty sure we can make it. It really depends on like how the magic works out. That's gonna be the thing. That's gonna be the problem child. And I can guarantee you we're gonna have to spend at least 2 prelims. Side note though, since Harry Potter came out, how long until the poor child actors they cast start getting death threats? My guess is that those child actors will not be anything. That would be my guess. And if any stupid motherfucker, any stupid goblinoid does send death threats to children, oh yeah, that ain't gonna look good on anybody. That ain't gonna look good on a single human being. And it's not even like, hey, we're gonna do it that, like, I don't think you can, like, if you do that, you're just making yourself look like a worse human being. That's the thing, like, you just look like a worse human being. Like, oh, well, I need to make sure that they're wrong. They're fucking 12. They're 12. They weren't born when you were 20. Like, you were an adult since they've been born. They're 12. Like, don't send death threats to them. But that's an entire different thing. I am waiting for people to like justify watching it though. Now that'll be when it comes out, when the new Harry Potter thing comes out. Watching the cycle will be the funniest fucking thing in the world, I think though. That will be the most funny fucking thing in the world. Easy. Because what's gonna happen is, hey, we shouldn't watch it, it's bad. I'm gonna watch it to prove how bad it is to write an article about it. I wrote in the article after watching the entire thing, it's bad, it's awful, you shouldn't watch it. And let's boycott it. It's gonna be like one of those things where it's like, let's boycott it, and you see the Modern Warfare. Like, I can tell you exactly what it's gonna look like. This is exactly what it's gonna look like, by the way. The boycott Modern Warfare, Modern Warfare 2, and every single person's in Modern Warfare 2. That is what it's gonna be like. Like, boycott the new Harry Potter game. Every single person has seen, no, not the Harry Potter game. Boycott the new Harry Potter show. Every single person has seen the show though. Like, that's gonna be the funny bit. Like, oh yeah, this will be free advertising. That's the big thing. Stare more sword bastards and maybe answer my query a little on this one. Because if we want to, what do I need to let's just kind of throw our, no fate die. We want to be experimental. Things that we haven't really seen before. Well, yeah, I mean that's its own beautiful disaster area. Usually, like, Like, probably it's going to be do it yourself. That's going to be kind of like one of the things with it. Because it's like, yeah, you're a fucking bunch of wizards. No shit you can cast your own spells because you're fucking wizards. So it's like, fuck. Let me think. Like, what do we want to do to, like, really, like... It's always one of those funny things, being like, what haven't you seen before? Being like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't really know what I haven't seen before because I haven't seen it before. You know, like, card? Because, like, generally speaking, that'd be, like, a little bit more of, like, a HEMA thing. Like, generally thinking, like, Song of Swords is really the only one that kind of hammers the same idea. What the fuck are Song of Swords, Perpetual Nightmare. Yeah, like Song of Swords is like probably like the biggest one about it, but then, you know, Song of Swords also has to deal with the fact that it's a disaster piece. Oh, looks like we're finally getting magic, everybody. Oh my goodness. It only took them about 5 years. You know, it just took them about 5 years to make it, like... Yeah. No, nothing physical. Oh, goodness. Oh, no. Like, Taylor, Pathway, 10 months ago, we gotta, like, oh, God. Let's see, did we get a magic? No, we got the NPC deck images from last year. Ooh, after 84 years. Like how the Star Wars RPG took 3 years to release Jedi rules. Well, the issue with Song of Swords, like, here's the weird thing with Song of Swords. It's... How do I want to do this? It's, Because you got to think about it like this. When you see opaque industry, this is actually like a thing you got to remember. Is opaque industries is not a lot of people. It was like 10, 15 guys. It went down at one point to one person. Yes, one person was actually the entirety of opaque industries for a while there. They, like, things slowed down to a crawl. They weren't really making that much money on things, and the money went away. I remember that. That was like a big part of this saga more than anything, which was... So the actual money of the Kickstarter is gone. It disappeared. They underestimated way too much, burnt all the money. The issue is, going from there is, they had a bunch of people working on it, and it took forever to get that. It wasn't working. So they had to put out the revised rules because the rules didn't work. So they put out the revised rules after they started selling the original rules, which are now just gone. So, and now, like, oh, well, Magic was promised like 2 years ago. Actually, about 3 years ago now. Yeah, it's been about 3 years ago. That never came out because none of these guys were working on anything because they weren't being paid. Yeah, the saga of Song of Swords, it's one of those things, like, if you join the Song of Swords server, you will get the, someone will send you almost immediately, if you want to play Song of Swords, you have to play these rules, which are, like, a Google Doc. Like, You have to play these. That's what they saw. That's when they're kind of mentioning, like, oh, the revised rules. Those aren't the revised rules. Those are the initial revised rules, not the entire set, written by the community, because the community is the only thing keeping Song of Swords alive. Yeah, there's, like, if we do, yeah, we haven't heard anything about a month, yeah, like a year. Yeah, like, to give you an idea, like, yeah, they have no hard copy. It's kind of a fucking mess. I do have a case set up for these guys. I thought there was one more, but there might not be it. Let me see. This would be a sword fighting TTR. This is what happens when you search up sword fighting TTRPG. Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Cool. Tenchi, like, chivalry? That's not... What does PC gamers say the best sword fighting game is? For Honor, Ghost Runner, Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, Chivalry 2, Nidhogg, Sekiro, Warhammer, fucking Beat Saber, Doom Eternal. We live in hell. Like, this was actually one of the ones, and it's like, oh, use Wushu. Wushu doesn't fucking... Like, Wushu's really light. That's why I was thinking, like, maybe not Wushu. Maybe not Wushu. That's what's like Rune Quests, like, maybe, like, go down the Rune Quest system, but, like, that's not... I deliberately want to get something... How do I want to do this better? I want to get something that is... You get into a fight, bad shit's gonna go down, you need to get into your, you know, your big thing. Like, you need to get into the zone because you're gonna get fucking stabbed and go down pretty fucking fast. Birding wheel. I'd fucking... This is like one of the ones, you know, Les Lames du Cardinal, Blades of the Cardinal. This is like one of those things, like, I was actually trying to find this game. This is actually a French RPG. I actually had to contact one of our Frenchmen to do this. This is actually a book series called Blades of the Cardinal. Kind of see that, kind of like a fantasy thing. They made a tabletop game about it. Shit gets a little bit wacky, as you can. Work my own magical adventures TM game. Biggest problem when you have a variety of wizards differently, and you want people to play non-wizards without it being unbalanced. Yeah, the problem with any time you bring in non-wizards into the game about wizards is that you need to give them something to do. It's always like, this is going to be painful for everyone involved. Yeah, you're not really going to be playing a non-wizard in Scala Maleficarum, because that's kind of the entire point. Like, let's see. Because this game uses... Because this tabletop game, the tabletop adaptation of it uses, like, tarot cards. Yeah, indie game of the month. Like, they use, like, tarot cards. Which, I can get... The thing is, like, I can get a tarot deck. That's the thing. I can get a tarot deck, whatever I need. My mom loves them. But, like, yeah, Cardinal box top. Like, it's a... What I mean by, like, maybe, like... This is kind of like... This is the thing that planted the idea of, like, maybe we use... Like, maybe we go for, like, cards into things. Like, maybe that's what we should be doing. Card it up a little bit. That could be interesting. Like, maybe we can, C'est la vie. I've never even seen Spellbound Kingdoms before. It's not really. Thirsty sword lesbians. A fucking course you get mentioned. Like, it seems silly. Like, that's the thing. It seems silly to actually, like, oh, I want this, but I just kind of want it. Just to say that I do have it, kind of thing. That's porn over there in the corner there. That is porn. Let me just put me over there. Okay, let me just put me, like, right there. I don't know why there's just porn in the corner there. I don't know why. VR music game. I no longer have to put my myself over there. Oh, that's porn as well. Why is there so much porn? Why? Why are we here? Wizards being dungeon masters and muggles are the slaves. Easy. Both will have roles to play. I'm a performance artist. I'll show you your deep, dark fantasy. Nobody beat me on making the Gachi Muchi game. You should make the card stances or something akin to like that. That could be interesting. Real problem is that non-magic has no cost and therefore is not enough design balance of space to make it worth using over magic. Yeah, I mean, that does make sense. That's usually the case with magic in a lot of different situations, and if you talk to a lot of people about the idea of, oh, magic will always be better than, magic is always better than, melee or anything like that, than being a martial. One of the big things about that is, more than anything, having magic means that you could do the marshal's job a lot better. That's kind of the issue. Like, you get a bunch of things to do what the marshal's job. Like, Why? Why? I mean, we've got to play now. Like, we've got to play. I mean, it's a samurai versus a Brazilian bandit. I mean, we're obviously going to play Brazilians, so, I mean, okay, it's easy enough to... But... That's all you need to know about that. Like, what the fuck? Hey, itch.io. Itch.io, you will see some artwork. Yeah, like, you will see some bizarre shit on Polish role-playing game, Dark Fantasy. Cloak and Dagger. Uses the 3D20 system. All right. Unfortunately, everybody, we are unable to visit the Polish website of the 3D20 system. Why in God's name does it have the same company, I assume? I know, like, Portal Publishing House. Okay, let's have no fear, everybody. Okay, then. Yeah, there's Niroshima. I've actually seen Niroshima before. Select your language, English. New games. Brazil Imperial. Brazil. Finally, Brazilian gaming. The 51st State Ultimate Edition. What's 51st State? That looks hellishly complicated. Looks like Robinson Crusoe. Yeah, it looks like this is kind of a little bit of an old history for them. They don't really talk about they don't talk about it anymore. I always find it interesting when they just like, oh yeah, here's like this game we made. Don't think about it too hard. God bless you, Poland. God fucking bless you. Welcome to Polish role-playing game. It's great. Combats in both melee combat and firearm combat. This form was Zabalas or rapiers, mostly by foreigners. 30 different moves during combat. That's all the time in combat. And thus, at the time of combat, especially between experience, game takes almost a tactical flavor. So, yeah. 7th Sea, The Riddle of Steel. Yeah, we could fucking The Riddle of fucking Steel. Like, it's like Polish historical, the official fantasy game, Wirus, in Polish Eastern Europe. Fantasy. Yeah, creation of licensed successor game Blades of the Iron Throne. Blade was published in 2013. Yeah. I do plan on maybe doing... It's one of those things, like, talking about Riddle of Steel is a weird experience because it's like there's so many successor games to Riddle of Steel that just talking about it, if I can find that Polish game, I might be able to. Nothing really. That's fencing. What is fencing about? It's a Chinese game. Hell yeah. I love Chinese games. Fencing RPG 2007. Like, there really isn't too much to think about. Alright, I mean, like, let's think. Like, I want to make a... Okay. Let's think something like this. Let's actually kind of take a second to close our eyes and really imagine something with us. I want to accomplish a goal. I want to do something. What do I want to do? Let's say I'm making a hearts check or something. Easy enough to understand. I need to convince someone of something. So I'm going to take my card. I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 basic cards, and I look in my hand, and I've rolled jack shit. I've got jack shit. So, I mean, maybe easiest answer would be you actually just play you just draw until you try to get something, and maybe you have to pay a little bit. Maybe you pay to draw more cards. Maybe that's it. Maybe there's a cost or something associated with it. Or if we want to be a little bit more snickety, what we can do is remove the direct face cards. Keep jokers, keep aces, but no direct face card. No kings, jokers, no king, jacks. Cards are overdone. For the real frontier, it's time to pull from a board games of dexterity test to be the resolution mechanic. See, with that, there's one problem. I still need to actually, like, try to make the game entertaining. There are actually quite a few dexterity games. No, I do know there for a fact on itch.io there's a few dexterity games. And I universally do not know why anyone would play them. Resolve everything with Beyblades. We can't resolve all our problems with Beyblades. That's what someone who doesn't have a Beyblade would say. So if we remove all the face cards, we just have a standard playing card deck. Let's just say, for example, we have a standard playing card deck. We need to resolve something with charm. And let's say we have let's say we're going to resolve something with charm. We need 3 hearts. Okay, easy enough to understand. Let's say I'm trying to be witty about something. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 wits. Draw my hand, and boom biata, I've got a 9, 14, and an ace on there. Maybe I get like a crit or something. Cuckoo choo. I get a pretty big score there. We remove the face cards. That's bringing us down to... We do a standard 50. And... (2 through 10 slash face), so that would be... That's about 40 cards. That's 40 cards in the deck, plus the 2, no, that'd be 42 cards in the deck, because you're going to get red jokers and black jokers. The red joker and the black joker. And most rolls, most checks are going to be with that single card deck. You're going to be taking those pulling them up, and it's like, okay, you've got a skill rating of something. 1, 2, 3. You know, 3 skill. You're gonna take your hand and be like, you need hearts. You got 4 of hearts. Cool. What do you do with the other cards though? Something Tokyo Nova asks. We can go like Tokyo Nova-esque. Give the other cards to NPC GM. You can keep drawing, but you're trading success now for things can get more fucked later. It's actually not. Yeah. So it's kind of like one of those things like, though if we want, I mean, let's think. What we can do is we can make it the idea, because there generally isn't that many, cards in the deck, relatively speaking. So maybe you have to do some downtime or something. It's kind of like a universal deck in that way. It's just like every card that you draw to try to succeed, that's another card going to the GM or something. You know, it's kind of like one of those things like, hey, you know, make a, you know, just play a red, you know, it might be actually, we can do that for like, that maybe the GM gets the cards later, like, hey, anything works right now, guys. So it's kind of like the more cards you draw out, the more things are going wrong. So it's like, okay, it's like, yeah, you can draw a lot of cards initially, or it's like, or you just kind of take it off the top. I guess that would work. Because again, the idea for the combat is, as I was kind of pointing out a little earlier, is everything is going to be based, this is just kind of like a quick little like idea mock-up more than anything. Like, you're going to be drawing a set of cards like right off the bat, being like, okay, you're sword fighting, let's say you draw 5 cards, and you're looking at them, they're looking at you, and you're looking at your hand, and you're going to be playing all of your cards on one of these 3 locations. So you might say like, okay, I'm going to place 1 here, I place, let's say, a card on the right, then, you know, you place something, I place a card on the left, place something, place a card in the middle, you place something, place another on the right, place another on the left. And then we do right, center, well, then we actually would be center, right, left, maybe, center. I've got a 5. I'm just going aggro, right on the attack. Okay, hey, we fucking parry one another. I hit you, you hit me, ding, we cling off one another. Then we do right. I've got 8 in blacks. You've got 8 in, you know, you've got 7 offense. I block. We do left. I've got 15 in blacks. You don't have enough. I block you. I block you. So there we go again. So it's kind of that high, like, back and forth. Where do we put the face card? Where do we put the face card? Because the face cards are here. It's like, what do we do with this? There's a few things like we could do with them. We could make them like, these are like your criticals kind of thing. Like this is clearly a thing that you're like dragging into the situation a little. Maybe you draw based on the drawing on your skill. Maybe your weapon gives you a bonus to things. Maybe you just lay out. If we maybe you actually just lay out all of the face cards and you have to pick it. That. So it's kind of along the idea of like, okay, you can try to go for this, but the second you go for it kind of thing, everyone kind of else knows you're going for it. Very limited currency there. Feels like there's an answer here. I don't know what it is. I'll have to do some research on this. I have an idea. I think I know what to do with it. I think I know how to do it. I just need to see it done. And if I see it, I should be fine. That's going to be its own. I mean, I'm going to go down to that. I have to go to the store tomorrow, so I might see if I can't pick up a new deck of cards. That might be. I mean, Set hand of cards. I lost some. Carnage. Like you just roll, like you literally grab your hand of cards right off the bat. That could be it. Like you just have you know exactly what you're going to be doing right off the bat, what you can and what you cannot do. So you're going to be going down that route a little more. So it's more about maybe positioning yourself in the correct way and being like, okay, I know for a fact that I've drawn a bunch of hearts, so I know I can be pretty good when it comes to hearts, which if you maybe get better, maybe we're expanding that a little bit. I mean, we're doing with a little bit more like age been light and silly, a little bit goofy, a little bit silly. Probably going to have to add in like faction ranking system or something like that, which you could also tie to maybe we can cards in that way. Maybe that would be an idea. Okay, I think that's going to be. There's an idea there. I have no idea how to do it. Okay, now we get to the SRD Nightmare. So SRD Nightmare, generally speaking, this is going to be kind of an exercise in determining what is going to get put out, like what's going to be actually kind of formalized. I think Blood, Coin, and Steel needs to get formalized down. I think this does need to get formalized down. We can probably fix up Waifu Core finally. I think making that a little bit more official. We can also probably fix up the D2000 SRD, integrate a lot of the ideas I got from Metal Saviors into that one. Let's see. What other things do we have? We have the 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 N2F, notepad narrative framework. We can do some stuff there. We've also got, technically what we can do is we can do notepad D20 and just fix that up, kind of, again, formalize it down a little bit more, being like, hey, this is just something, an idea here. Center system. Yeah, how can I forget the center system? Yeah, we can do center system. I think that'll be, generally speaking, like the core like idea of this is pretty simple. Like, the basic idea is we need to present SRDs in a readable and understandable format. It's going to be cleaning. That's going to be the big thing with this. So if I'm going to be a little bit honest, BCS is going to be cleaning. Core ideas work. Like, Waifu Core is going to be a retrofit. We need to retrofit Waifu Core. That's just going to be like one episode of us just working on that. D20, this is going to be a retro clean, which I just need to patch up the D2000 system to make it into a better place. Notepad D20, like, I might have to do like a full retrofit of this one. Notepad narrative framework, mostly cleaning, get into a good place. Center system, it's perfect. It's perfect. Like, generally speaking, like, this one's going to be long. BCS is just going to be a long process because there's a lot of BCS. There's just is a shit ton of it, and putting everything together, it's legitimately right now lists, like bunches of fucking lists, and I'm going to put everything into a table and I'm going to make it nice and pretty. Waifu Core is probably the least well put together because Deep Blue Girls is not a very well put together game. So this one's going to be a lot more of like pretty much trying to like get the system in a decent place. D20 SRD mostly going to be cleaning, but kind of fixing things up in various capacities. Notepad D20 is just going to need to get a full retrofit. I know what I need to put in there. It's been a while. I just need to make it nice and concise. The N2F is kind of the same way in that idea. Center system is going to take just fuck. That's my opinion on the center system. Fuck. But yeah. What game uses the N-D20? What in God's holy name are you on about? Retrofractory. Retrofractive indexing. No. Nothing uses the N-D20. Yet. I don't have it yet. But, let's see, it's 9:30. I've been doing this for about 2 hours. Notepad D20, oh. So this is why I need to call it here. I'm getting tired. No, yeah, N20, ND20. I could probably see. This is also the fun thing with the SRDs. I need to come up with like fancy, fun names for all of them outside just what they are. But yeah, I could probably do something like that. That'd be easy enough to do. But I'll probably call it there. We did about 2 hours of just kind of mulling over things. There may be a stream tomorrow. There may not be. It kind of depends on the situation. If I do a stream tomorrow, it will probably be an affinity for website design. Just sitting down, hanging out, talking. You know how it goes. I think that'll be fun. But see ya later. Godspeed. Good luck. You know the rest. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. I'll see you all maybe tomorrow, maybe not. I'm going to take my shirt off and get comfortable because I have to turn on my oven tonight, which I'm going to try to find a way to not have to turn on my oven. All right. Goodbye. If you need me, you know where to reach me. I'm available whenever you need.